Welcome to the table.
We're your hosts, Michelle and Laura.
This is where we talk movies, food, and the ways that they bring us together. Grab a seat. This episode starts now.
Hey, Michelle. Episode 2 of our Valentine's Day series. We are in warm climates for this one. Let's just get right into it. How many times have you seen this movie?
This was my second time watching it.
Okay.
How about you?
I think it was my third. I
Okay.
remember I liked it so much when I watched it that I decided to rewatch it on Hulu. But I have not seen it in a while. So
Okay.
It was a very fun revisit.
I think the thing that I am most excited to talk to you about is the significance of when this movie came out and how eerily tied to the pandemic it is, but totally unplanned.
So it premiered at Sundance in January.
January 2020.
And if you would have told me this was filmed during COVID, I would have believed you because it was a very COVID shot movie. It took place basically at an Airbnb in a contained environment, which is what a lot of filmmakers were doing when they were limited to locations. If you're a filmmaker, sometimes things just eerily pan out and are kind of these cosmic things in play, which again just plays back to this very Groundhog-esque movie.
Yeah, there are so many layers because not only does the story seem like the story to me in the script seems like it was written about the pandemic. It was like someone who was going through the pandemic and had all of these aha moments. But then to also have this other layer of it looks like it was produced under very limited circumstances.
Yeah.
The cosmic timing of all of that. And then also just the movie itself having a little bit of this magical realism to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The stars really aligned for this movie.
I can remember, I guess this would make sense because if this came out during COVID, I remember watching a Q&A and I remember them talking about how it was this very cosmic thing. They had so much fun filming it on set, and then when COVID hit and it was kind of this strange connection that it really did seem like someone wrote it during COVID. So just you can't really explain it.
Chills. I just keep getting chills every time I think about it.
I know.
Some true movie magic.
Yeah. So since this was your second time watching it, and did you watch it not long after it came out during COVID?
Yeah, I think I watched it right away. And I think one of the things, I'm not quite clear on this, but it was at the time sold at Sundance to Hulu for, I think at the time, the most amount of money that a movie had been sold at, which is really cool. But I think in my mind, I thought that this was a movie that was developed by Hulu Studios, or I don't even know if that, because Disney owns them now, so I don't even know if that Hulu Studios ever existed or if it was just for distribution. So I was curious to watch this kind of from that perspective and thinking about that this is part of this group of movies that was made in a different way, designed to be direct to streaming. But I don't think that none of that is true.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought going into this rewatch. But this was just not an indie movie, right? Or was it? Or is it considered to be?
I'm not sure. I mean, the budget definitely isn't big, but at the same time, they do have some bigger names attached to it. But I also think that some actors just take on these projects because they fall in love with the script.
Okay, it says it premiered at Sundance in 2020, and it was simultaneously released on Hulu and in select theaters by Neon. I don't know what Neon is.
I feel like most movies I watch are through Neon.
Oh, interesting. And it looks like, I think why I had indie in my head is that the project was announced in November 2018 after it secured a tax credit to film in California. But even with that tax credit, they had limitations, so they weren't actually able to film it in Palm Springs, which I don't really
Okay.
feels like it takes
Yeah.
away from it at all. Given how contained this story is, the filming only lasted 21 days, which is
Yeah.
really cool
Which
and inspiring to think that you could make a movie that's this good and with a small budget, and
yeah.
that it could be so
Yeah, I mean, in
acclaimed.
those cases, they usually don't really have an option because it's expensive every day that goes by, but I just imagine this is probably such, like, a fun set to be on.
Yeah, like a
It probably
party.
really did feel like a wedding or a party.
Yeah.
Um, so was there anything that really stood out this time around since this is your second time watching it?
Yeah. I loved watching it knowing what happened. Like, I felt like this was a great rewatch, especially the opening sequence, I'll say, not the opening scene, but seeing Niles go through the day for the first time. It was really fun to rewatch that with the knowledge that he was in a time loop, and all the things that he was saying and all the things that he was doing was not just Andy Samberg being silly and, very like him, but to have the context. And not to say that it wasn't enjoyable to watch it the first time and then to learn that afterwards and be able to reflect on it, but I don't know, there's something about going back and actually like seeing the visuals with having that information that was very enjoyable to me.
I feel the same. I think the Hawaiian shirt is such, like, a just symbol throughout the entire movie,
Mhm.
and the fact that it, like, starts with that, and that's where he ended up after all this time, that he just completely threw in the towel, and then being able to, like, see the older times or versions where he's actually is committing and is wearing a suit and is trying just made me so happy.
We didn't watch this together, obviously, because it was during
Mhm.
the pandemic, but I do remember how much you loved it the
Yeah.
first time. And if this is
Well,
your
yeah,
good.
my 3rd time. No, I was gonna say, it's funny, I actually not that it took away from it being enjoyable, but I think I liked it so much the first time because of the reveals and it being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened." Like, usually I pick up on things, and for some reason, when I watch this movie the first time, I just had did not see any of those things coming. And I know that a movie isn't supposed to hinge on those big moments, but for some reason, I think because this movie's so tight and it's so funny and it's such like an enjoyable watch, you don't really have to think too much. You're just like along for the ride. Having those kind of like really serious things that pull you out from under your seat are just like add-ons. So I think this time around, knowing that those were coming, it kind of took away like the sparkle a little bit, which I know is kind of the opposite of what you're saying, but it didn't for any reason make me like it less. I think it's with any movie that you watch where something is revealed and you really didn't see coming, like it's always gonna have the strongest effect the first time you watch it. Yeah.
I love that it can be both of those
Yeah,
things.
exactly. I can't even 2020 really is such a blur, and this was just, like, a joy to be able t
Yeah.
that was, like, given to us during a time where you're stuck inside, and it made you feel, like, a little less alone.
Yeah, the tone of this was also just what we needed in the
Mhm.
summer of 2020 because we have to remember that at this time we weren't really sure
Yeah.
what we were going to come back from and what we weren't. If movies were going to continue to be made in the way that, thankfully, I mean, I know that there have been a ton of things that have changed in the industry because of COVID, but I think that we weren't sure if we were going to get any more new movies,
Yeah.
and people were like trying to make movies at home, but they all felt very like, like sad and depressing, and
Incorporating Zoom into it, and I mean, the creativity is amazing that people were able to do that, but I think, again, it was just kind of this weird cosmic placement that this had already been filmed.
yeah. So I really like thinking that this was this gift that was given to us, this like bright, shiny, fun thing that still fit in with what we were all going through at that
Mhm.
time. It just
Exactly.
sorry. I'm like I can't get over this. Like I
Yeah.
can't get over
I know,
the
and
like
I
how this
actually had to
happens.
remind myself today because watching it last night, in my mind, I was like, "Oh, yeah, they just filmed this during COVID." I completely forgot that that was part of it all. What is your relationship with Andy Samberg? Did you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Are you familiar with Lonely Island?
I'm not familiar with Lonely Islands. I don't even know what that is.
So it's like a comedy group and they they like have come out with a handful of songs. Yeah, I mean Andy Samberg is one of those like he's such a delight. I love him so much. He's such like a perfect person for this role. But yeah, I feel like I'm in the rare group of people who have not watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, another cosmic alignment moment for me is that I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine in its entirety during the pandemic around when this movie came out. So I think I was like in the middle of the rewatch. I was Andy Samberg fangirling.
Yeah,
So of course I was like so excited to hang out with him in a different story. What
sure.
is your background with Kristen Milioti?
I know I've seen her in things, but I can't put my finger on it. So I would say I don't really have a relationship with her, but I have many wonderful things to say about her in this episode. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I know her better than Andy Samberg, or at least I've seen her in more things.
She's in How I Met Your Mother, right? But she
She's
doesn't
the mother in
yeah.
How I Met Your Mother, spoiler, but she's only in the last season, really, maybe like another episode or
Okay.
two. But she's also in Fargo season 2 and is so good in that.
Oh, I
And
don't.
then most recently, she was in the show called The Penguin
Okay.
and plays another just like she's played all of these different types of characters, and I feel like she's someone who like gives 110 to what she does, but it doesn't seem like she's overacting, at least
Mhm.
to me she doesn't. And I just think that she's such an interesting actor and an interesting person. Oh, and she was also in Once the musical. I
Okay.
think I always get this mixed up. I'm not sure if she was the one who was in the stage version or the filmed version, but yeah, so she can also sing. I, especially rewatching this, just had the thought that she should be more critically acclaimed than she is.
Mhm.
Like, I know that she's been in so many things and she's getting a lot of work and taking part in a lot of projects, but I feel like most people don't know who she is.
Yeah. I feel like for both her and Andy Samberg in this movie, a thought that I had the whole time is like they're both just so believable in these
Yeah.
roles. So, but again, like you said, I think you summed it up perfectly that it doesn't seem like either of them are need to like not that they're obviously trying and putting a ton of work into it, but it feels very natural to them.
Mhm. Their energy is different, but I feel like they both kind of fall in the same category of being able to do a lot of different
Mhm.
things well and are not I like that they're not like super popular. I mean, I guess they probably maybe would be considered to be A-list actors, but you know, when you're naming like the top 3 actors and the top 3 actresses of today, like they're not going to come
Yeah,
up.
they should.
They
They're
should.
both lovely. Yeah.
Yes. They're underdogs.
Yes. We love an underdog.
We do. I feel
Um,
like I have more to say about both of them, but I want to save it for
yes,
the one that we
agree.
love.
Yeah, we should get into it. So what did you love about this movie?
It's funny, I didn't have this thought until I pulled up the script, which I rarely do for these episodes, but there were a couple lines that I wanted to reread and make sure that I was remembering it in the right way. And the person who wrote the script, his initials are AS. I mean, his name is Andy, also like Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
So his name is Andy Sierra. And it's one of those things, I feel like this just happens to us naturally. I mean, when we're creating things, but I think also in real life, like we tend to gravitate toward people who have a commonality with us. And I was just wondering if when Andy Sierra was writing this script, if he had Andy Samberg in mind, if he kind of like, you know that a lot of filmmakers who make things cast people who they kind of like see parts of themselves in. Andy Samberg was absolutely perfectly cast in this. It did feel like, whether or not it was purposely written for him or not, it felt like it was written for him. And this role had so much nuance to it, because if you're looking at it just in a black and white way, you could say, oh, well, we're seeing the same day over and over again. We're going to see him do the same things. Like, how much does that take? But the fact that there are so many of them, we go through this day so many times, I think it's really those subtleties that made me really appreciate these two actors even more with this rewatch. And I'll just call out one of my absolute favorite things that it happens a bunch of times in the movie, but every single time I was like, this is like chef's kiss, subtlety, perfection, that once they got to know each other, the ways that they wake up start to change. So in the first scenes, you're just kind of seeing the eyeball, and you're seeing you're seeing their eye open and then wake up and kind of have the same dialogue happen. But once they get to know each other, they're waking up with these little smiles on their face, and you're seeing how excited, and you can feel the energy of them wanting to like get out of bed and start the day so that they can hang out some more. It's just such a simple way to communicate how much these two were falling in love with each other.
I had truly the exact same note. I think that is not that it's a favorite scene, because it's many scenes, and I know we're not there yet, but I think when I was watching this last night, I was like, I think this is my favorite inclusion in the movie, because it does feel so real in a way. If there's something that you're so excited to like get out of bed for in the morning, and like you can't wait, you have, I mean, maybe not that exact same smile or glimmer in your eye, but it feels like a very human decision that they made.
Of course, we both loved that.
It's Valentine's Day. We're getting in the mood.
Oh man, I'm really getting into it.
Yeah. I was thinking the like Cupid bow and arrow, since we're in like our Valentine's Day mood, that J.K. Simmons is literally hunting him with a bow and arrow.
I didn't even think of that. Oh my God. Amazing.
For us. Yeah, I have always had such a crush on Andy Samberg, but in this movie, both of their characters, again, we're talking a lot about their chemistry and how, again, it feels very like effortless for them to fall into these roles. But I think the thing that I love the most about each of them is that they're both like really shitty people. They're not actually good people, and yet we absolutely sympathize with them. So I feel like they're both really great anti-heroes in a way. We never actually find out what his background is, because he doesn't even want to talk about it.
Or he's forgotten.
He hasn't forgotten, because he uses that as
I guess that's
his
true.
way of not wanting to talk about things throughout the movie, or his big lie that they had never slept together. So he kind of like, I feel like that's just like a character trait of his. And then the fact that his decision is that he doesn't want to end up leaving is because I think in my mind, I'm like, how shitty was his life that he didn't really want to go back to it. But I think he is just, he's such an idiot, but he's so charming in this movie. Like, I just from like the minute, I think their character introduction is very much like, when he interrupts the speech and she's like, who is this guy? And she's trying to understand how he's connected to everyone and like why he's making such a ruckus. Even though that's not, I know it's not his character introduction, but again, like the first time they're really connecting is him just like dancing his way through the wedding with like different drinks and trying to get her attention and trying to get her to dance with him is just so much fun. Like I think I just have so much fun with him throughout the whole movie. And even though there are these sweet and like more serious moments, I would want to be stuck with him somewhere. I think it would be a great time.
Yeah, you just brought up a great point that we see these anti-heroes and we see these kind of like hot mess, especially with women characters a
Yeah.
lot in movies, TV shows, books. I don't ever feel like I'm as entertained by it as I'm supposed to be. I always just more end up getting annoyed, and I keep thinking throughout the story like, "Oh, just do this. Just make this like better decision and everything will be fine." But I didn't feel that way in this movie at all. Like
Yeah.
everything that they were doing, I sympathized with them. I was able to see how I could be in a similar situation or really feel what they were feeling. I was compassionate towards them. And I think just the nature of their situation, I wasn't judging anything that they were doing because I was like, I mean, do whatever you want.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that we're coming off the heels of just recording 500 Days of Summer, because if you do compare these two couples side by side, like in a way, they have a lot of flaws too, but I was not as sympathetic towards either of them in comparison to this movie. I mean, I think if anything, Sarah's character really does a lot worse if you line it up
Yeah.
next to each other, but I have nothing but compassion for that character.
Yeah. I also I was thinking about 500 Days of Summer in wanting to ask you. I mean, clearly we think that these two have better chemistry than Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zoe Deschanel, but also with the caveat that they weren't supposed to have chemistry because they weren't
Mhm.
supposed to end up together. With these two, with Andy and Kristen, I don't it's not like so much of a slam dunk, like they have great chemistry. Like I think that these two actors could be love interests in many other movies, or I could see them together in real life. Similarly to what I said in 500 Days of Summer, I do see it more as like a friend hangout kind of energy, but there's this spark between the two of them that makes their relationship and their energy just like so dynamic. And so there's just like this magnetism between them. And I feel like I want to see them, I would love to see them work together like in another capacity and like in
Mhm.
two completely different kinds of roles and to see what happens.
Yeah, I think also with this movie, and it is a testament to the script, which I think is wonderful, that we truly get to watch these characters fall in love over a period of time or like build up their chemistry or the way they get to. I know by the end, they're like, we don't even really know each other that well because they don't actually talk about their backgrounds. They're very much like in the moment. But I think that's rare because there's only so much time in an hour and 30 minutes that you can give to characters the space and time that we need to see them kind of develop this relationship. A lot of the times we're thrown in the middle of a relationship or they kiss and then they're like, all right, we're in love. But going back to our favorite part of this movie and showing them waking up every day, I think is again is also like a very human and real thing of when you're getting to know someone and you're having a good time in like the quote unquote honeymoon phase, you're excited about them and you're learning new things and you're going on different dates. I mean, in a way, they have a date every single day over and over and over again. They use time as like a perfect instrument to work in the favor of like showing these two characters start to build up their chemistry. Because to your point, like you could argue that first night, they're really awkward hooking up and they're kind of just messing around and like he's giving her insight into oh Missy's hooking up with this person and they don't really know that much yet of like how they're going to end up in this situation together. So, no notes.
I think the other big thing that I wanted to talk to you about is either my taste is changing or I'm honing in more on the type of story that I really love, because for a long time I was identifying with, really liking rom-coms, really liking love stories. And I don't think that that's true. I think that I love really good stories that have really great love stories that are part of them, but not like the genre of a rom-com or a romance movie. So, between last week, 500 Days of Summer, and then watching this, whatever this is the genre that I like. I obviously romance was a big component in this, but it was just done differently. And even 500 Days of Summer, which is like an anti-love movie, I still like that way better than I'd love a lot of rom-coms.
Well, I also think the definition of a rom-com today is very different from the ones that we grew up with, because it just, the tone is different. And sometimes I do wonder, with like the rom-coms that are my favorite and are kind of like deemed iconic by the millennial generation, are they actually good movies, or are they just really nostalgic for us? And sometimes I do want to watch a movie where it doesn't need to be this like make me think deeper about life, even though actually this movie does, even though
Yeah.
it's, it hits upon different points. Like, I think it intersects a lot of notes, and that's why it does work, because it gives us a lot. When I was younger, especially like the rom-com category, I was like, ah, yeah, just another one. These are so fun. And I would just rewatch them over and over and over again. But this, to your point, is kind of like, it could stand on its own two legs without even like needing that label of what it is.
I disagree. I mean, for me, I don't feel like that's enough. I mean, that's fine for the people making them, but I feel like I'm just craving more creativity, inventiveness, and meaning. I want a movie that's going to either make me think, make me feel, or surprise me. And this
Hmm.
movie does all of those things. This movie was
Yeah.
not predictable. Even rewatching it, it wasn't predictable for me.
Yeah. To your point, it's like there's new things that notice the second time
Hmm.
around. There was like so much love that was put into this, and like inventiveness and thinking outside of the box, instead of hitting on the exact notes that you need for a romance, kind of flipping it on its head and thinking of a completely different approach to how we think about romantic comedies.
Yeah, I was inspired from a writing perspective watching this and thinking, how can I tell a really great love story differently? And how
Mhm.
can I incorporate some of these elements of surprise and like doing something that's like weird and different, and just being okay with the fact that maybe it's not going to be completely mainstream, but if that's not what I enjoy, then like why am I going to make the thing that
Mhm.
I'm not in love with?
Yeah.
I didn't write a ton of notes about this, but I did think that the supporting characters were really fun, and I think that they were used just the right amount. Similarly to 500 Days of Summer, I think we had said almost like we kind of didn't even need the supporting characters. Like, this could have just been this movie with just these two people in it. And I felt like for this, they needed them, but I didn't, they didn't really give us like big backstories on everybody. I came away with questions about some of these relationships and some of these people. I was kind of confused and couldn't keep track of who everyone was, but because it's just the two of them and sometimes Roy being the constants in each day, the characters were more like props than people in
Mhm.
their lives and in their story. And I felt like they executed that perfectly.
I think because some of them are very big names and actors that I love, like June Squibb and Peter Gallagher and Connor O'Malley, who I love, and J.K. Simmons. Like, I think that they added so much to the movie, and it's not like we needed this grand backstory, but I found myself like laughing so much when each of them were a part of the scenes. I also like really loved Misty. I thought she had
She was
so many
great.
good moments. Oh my God. Like most of my favorite quotes, which I'll get into, like involve just conversations between her and Andy and like their repeat mornings together.
Everyone hit it out of the park who was involved in this movie. And I also, for this being such a contained story, maybe the interiors felt very Wayfair-esque,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I felt like the costumes were really fun. I felt like they really doubled down on using the costumes, and they could have gone the route of, because they're reliving the same day over and over again, that Niles and Sarah would just wear the exact same thing. Like I feel like that would have been like a really easy thing to explain away. But I like that with the two of them, that they had all these different looks for them and all these different adventures, especially Sarah's look when she had the birthday party for him in the bar.
Yes.
I mean, I wish I had the ingredients to have put that outfit together for today, but that was such a like a joy explosion, that whole scene.
Joy explosion is a perfect description. And I think it's really, again, there's so many things that I know are obviously intentional and well thought out by all the people involved in this movie, but trying to show her transformation or her journey throughout this movie as like miserable and, in the uniform bridesmaid's dress and like being so sad and drinking out of, absolute shame and being so upset in the beginning to like transforming her into, wearing the outfit that you're wearing right now and having crazy makeup and like just completely letting her hair down in a way. They just really used a lot of those elements, I think, to work for her.
You see her outfits become like more and more unhinged. I love when she's wearing like that kind of like leopard coat at one time, and she's got those, the cowboy boots and the shorts. And I feel like it's almost like just two little kids were just kind of like let loose in the world. And I love just seeing them play together.
I know I already talked about the Hawaiian shirt, but it's just such a simple costume decision that it's like the definition of I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm wearing at the wedding. And I love also that no one, in that opening scene, we haven't gotten into the explanation yet, but no one really says anything. Everyone just like completely accepts that Niles is in this outfit and we're just rolling with it.
I also love the recurring joke that no one knows who he is. And he has to
Yes.
keep reminding people, Missy's boyfriend. Right.
Boyfriend. Yes. I just think there's a lot of like small decisions throughout that work well. Like if we think a little bit deeper about the setting, and again, whether or not I would assume this was written as part of the script, but I know that you said that this was like how they got the funding to do it, that it had to take place in like California. But the fact that it's in the desert, and when you think about a desert, it's this very like never ending setting of kind of like nothingness. And again,
Oh,
all
yeah.
these things are kind of like in the backdrop, but they're so thoughtful and very like psychologically perfectly placed, if that was part of the script. And just like, the use of different like pops of color, like like red is very prominent throughout, like the beer cans, which I actually just read there's some like Easter egg that the brand of beer or what they had featured had something to do with a never-ending loop. So there were like little things that they threw in here and there. The use of the pool floaties are like circles, so it's kind of supposed to be this like, again, just ongoing loop that they're stuck in. Again, we keep using the word cosmic, but all these like tiny decisions that they made that were very simple, but made it a very original movie and a very enjoyable watch.
When you're watching a movie like this, it's hard to please everyone, and I felt like they did a really good job, first of all, with all the science stuff, like, similarly to what we talked about in the Back to the Future episode. I felt like they told us just enough that we could understand it, but that we didn't have to think too hard and, like, let it be a project
She
for us.
basically, like, breezed over it, and then she just shows that one diagram on the mirror. And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
great, I don't have to think about this ever again." And
yeah,
they just have to blow themselves up to get back to
yeah.
get at it.
It made and I couldn't repeat it back to you, but
Yeah.
as I was watching it, I was like, "Okay, I get this. This makes sense." I don't know that I remember when I was watching it the first time what I wanted to happen or what I hoped would happen or what I expected to happen, but I think that the decision that they made to get them out, like, her, her experiment worked, but also to include the dinosaurs in there at the end to, like, still leave this, like, tiny bit of ambiguity because you're especially when you hear him mention what the date is and that he has a dog, and then we see the family come back, you're like, "Okay, well, obviously, they're safe and they've broken out of this loop." But then when you see the dinosaurs, you're like, "But wait, did they? I think they did." And
Yeah.
I love an ending like that. That's, like, not this, like, complete concrete, this is the
Mhm.
ending, so that people can have their own interpretation of it or
Yeah.
make their argument for it being one way or the
Mhm.
other.
I did not even pick up on that, so
Oh,
but, because I think when I heard the point about the family coming home, I was like, "Oh, okay." Then they got out of it and they just decided to, like, return back to that place, but yeah, I remember after turning it off yesterday of like, "Wait, am I really sure this is actually what happened?"
great satisfying ending.
Yeah, and I know we've already talked about the reveal, but again, this movie is like I still remember watching it, and I remember, like, gasping when he comes out of the shower. I was like, "Oh, I
Oh,
can't believe this."
the groom.
Yeah, I feel like screenwriter, like, professors should show this script in class because it's just, like, so tight, like, they have all these little nudges, how well they cover up the reveal throughout that, like, we wake up with her so many times every morning, and you hear the shower on or you do this, and, like, I didn't truly did not think about that at all.
I did remember that twist. However, I don't feel like they make it super obvious in a way that you would be able to figure it out.
Mhm.
More so because they don't really come out and say she did this one really bad thing. You're getting that vibe from her that, like, something's not right and she's obviously upset about something, but I don't feel like they make it clear that she did something. I thought it
Yeah,
was almost just like a culmination of, like, she's having a rough time, she's drinking a lot or whatever, like, this is just like a rough patch in her life, which is also true, but I think why that reveal felt like such a big twist is because we weren't even looking for a twist, or at least I wasn't.
yes. And again, I think that's just why it works so well because it's very subtle until it's not. I know we didn't talk, like, so much about J.K. Simmons, but I say this in every episode about some actor, but he could play a plastic bag, an angry plastic bag, and I would just sign me up. And this isn't a part of, my favorite scene, so this won't give anything away, but the fact that they include their whole dialogue of, like, when he goes over to his house and, like, we're kinda seeing his life before in my mind, I guess, before he decided to go to the wedding, they didn't get too much into those logistics, but and I love that he's just kind of like a random family friend, which is just, I feel like, nodding at the silliness of weddings that no one really knows who each other are. Yeah, I feel like that was such, like, a weird scene, like, he goes over and he's, like, making fish, and his kid is, like, watering dog poop, and they're like really young, and he's like talking about how, he had them when he was like older, and he like got drunk on Mai Tais, and it was just like this very, strange inclusion as part of the movie. Like, it doesn't really move the plot along, but it was like we needed the backstory of Roy and like why he stopped hunting him. He's hunting him with a bow and arrow. It's like so dramatic. I mean, any other movie would just be like, yeah, he like shoots him every day. But the fact he's like, yeah, he has some anger issues. It's just so weird. It's very like Andy Samberg humor. And I was just completely along for the ride.
It was really great to have that contrast of seeing how three different people with three different personalities would react to ending up in a situation like that. But even he was both like humorous and I don't know. I don't know what else. I mean, humorous, but like serious. Yeah, earnest at times.
Yeah.
But also Kristen Miliotti's reaction to her first morning was also epic, with her just, coming out screaming and chucking beer cans at him into the pool. I loved that. That was such a great choice for her.
I love that they made that so dramatic with her sister like chipping her teeth, and the dad's like, we can get them fixed in town. Peter Gallagher is so perfect.
Also Peter Gallagher, like just
I wish he was my dad. He's such a good movie dad.
Yeah.
He's the best. If you were stuck in a time continuum and you could pick which day you could relive over and over again, which one would it be?
I think I have my easy answer. I reference this day all the time as like one of my favorite days of my life. And it's the first time that we went to Europe, and we were in London for 5 days, and then we went to Paris for 5 days. And I'm sure I've talked about this on this podcast before, and definitely people in real life know this, that I felt like I was very underwhelmed by Paris. And the whole time I was there, so I was just like, I just want to get back to London. But it was great because our last day was in London because we were flying out of there. So we got one more bonus day when we got back, and we stayed at a nicer hotel because we were celebrating our anniversary. With the time change, this is in 2018. And so we're somewhere between September 12th and September 13th, whether you were, in London or on the East Coast. But it was also when our nephew William, who ended up being my godson, was born. So I felt like it was such a happy day for me and Jimmy to be back in London and getting to do all of these happy things and celebrate our anniversary, which is on September 13th. But then also to know that back home this other happy thing was happening, that our new nephew had joined our family. That's the day I would like to get stuck in.
Sweet. When William goes through our archives someday when he's older, he's going to be very excited to listen to this episode.
I hope so. How about you? Do you have a go-to day?
I don't really have one in mind. I feel like, of course, my mind goes like to, she ends up like driving back home. And I feel like I would just want to place myself in a setting that I could somehow like make the day feel new and special every day. So it's like doing something not mundane, but something that's like special and I'm just happy to do. So it's almost like trickery of this isn't the same day over and over again. But it probably would involve me being in Europe.
Good question. Should we make this our question for the table?
Sure.
By the way, I kind of threw this out there in the last episode, but I want to expand upon this. I'm really trying hard to like make this into a thing, but when we're posing these questions going forward, the question for the table, the way that I kind of see it is, if you're going out with a group and you'll order something for the table, like you'll order a pizza for the table, or if you're out for breakfast, you'll order like a pancake for the table to split, kind of like that. So this question can be just for you to think about, but I think ideally we would love for you to bring this question out into your lives, at your dinner table or your desk table at your, at work to, chat about during lunch or wherever. But let's make this the question for the table for this episode. If you had to get stuck in a time loop day, what day from your life would you not mind repeating over and over again?
Yeah. And vice versa, what would be your nightmare day to be
Oh
stuck in?
god. I don't
Which
even
I
wanna
think
talk about that. That's
yeah.
I don't wanna get sad, I don't wanna bring the mood down.
Yeah, exactly. This is a happy film. There really aren't too
Yes.
many sad moments. They're more like sentimental. So,
Speaking of bad stuff, I do have some dislikes. Do you?
not really. My biggest thing was like just because I had rewatched this and the reveals weren't as jarring to me. But this movie's so short, or it feels shorter than all the 3.5 hour movies that are coming out nowadays, that I didn't feel like I had like too much time to pick apart things. And if they were so minuscule that it just like did not take away from the movie. Some of the supporting roles, to your point, like some of the friends, but I actually had a lot of fun in some of those scenes, even when they're like all in the room together and he's like smelling the pillow and someone's talking about how they like ate 3 pizzas yesterday and they're like doing Molly and it's like a zoo. But yeah, I mean, I think you had brought this up earlier, but like the set design wasn't anything spectacular, but I actually think it worked because if it's the same thing over and over again, it's kind of supposed to be this like mundane, bland thing, then they're like adding the sparkle to it.
All right. So this is gonna make me sound prude, and I don't mean to make it sound like this, but I felt like the opening was a little crass for me, but more so because mom and dad were over for dinner last night, and I was kind of kicking them out because I was saying that I needed to watch this movie and that we were recording tonight. And I was just, mom asked what movie we were covering, and I started to tell her about it. And she's like, "Oh, I think that I would enjoy watching that." And without, I didn't even remember exactly how the movie opened, but I was like, yeah, not because of content. I don't think that it would be a movie that mom would enjoy. So I was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't really think that you would love it. But I was thinking that had I been watching this with her, I would have shut it off in that opening scene because I felt like it was just not something I would have been comfortable watching with her. And not that this movie or any movie needs to, be created with thinking that, adults are going to watch it with their, with their parents. But I think the thing that I didn't like about it was that I don't feel like that the rest of the movie was like that at all.
Mhm.
And so I felt like it was like misrepresenting what was to come.
Think it was misplaced because they could have just to, like, show his character a little bit more that he's, like, still sleeping with Misty, even though
Mhm.
he
Yeah,
knows
that's
he's a horrible person, that they could have just, like, thrown that in another day that he wakes up. Because the opening scene, like, I know it's supposed to, have you think about things differently. It's supposed to be kind of be this very exciting moment, and it's I think it's just a very well-crafted movie that they could have led with something else.
yeah. Yeah, it was just an odd choice for me to dedicate that much time right at the beginning because I feel like
Yeah.
it's not setting the tone for really
Mm,
for what's to come. And I would hate for someone to be watching that and for it to open like that and people be like, "Oh my god, this is not a movie for me." Because if the whole movie was like that, it would not be for me. So yeah, it made me sad to think that people might be missing out on a great movie just because of
yeah.
that opener. Okay, so this it's gonna sound like another prude comment, but it's not. This has to do much more with like story and structure, and I'm poking a hole in something than the fact that this happened. But Laura, you've referenced a few times what a big reveal it was for you that Niles and Sarah had slept together like many times and that he was keeping this secret from her. And I agree. That was like such like a big moment in the movie. But I felt like it was cheapened a little bit when I remember that not that they slept together, but they were kind of hooking up in that first night together that we
Mm,
see in the movie. And they kind of gloss over that. I mean, when she asks him the first time, like, have we ever hooked up?
Mhm.
Like, she should remember that. That was like, should be the last thing that she remembers. I mean, she's not going to remember all the other times because she wasn't like part of the loop then,
Mhm.
but she should still remember that night. And I feel like she also kind of
I think that
glosses
she
over
does
it.
remember it. I mean, at least that's how I took it. I think she remembers that night. I think she's just, like, shocked that they actually have slept together throughout
Okay.
all the other loops that she wasn't a part of.
Okay. To
Yeah.
me, I think it would have I still wanted to see them on that first night, obviously have show that they had some kind of connection
Yeah.
and have a reason for her to follow him into the cave. But I thought that both the reveal and then also their first kiss and their first hookup, I think would have just felt that much stronger if it had truly, from our perspective, that had been the first
Yeah,
time that we're seeing it.
I agree. The only thing that I think works for me again is, like, the, journey of them, like, slowly building up chemistry because I thought their chemistry was so weird, like, that
Mhm.
first so
Yeah, it was, and that's true that we were
Mhm.
able to kind of see
But
that
I don't think it was
contrast.
needed.
I don't know, to me, like, the handhold was kind of more like the first kiss moment more than
Yeah,
the first kiss was,
yeah,
like, their real,
agree.
like, first, like,
So
connection,
sweet.
so,
Yeah,
I know you love that scene too.
yes.
And then this is not a dislike, you kind of alluded to this before. When Niles went to go see Roy at his house, I guess in Roy's loop, he was living his life, and then he went to the wedding later on that day. Is that
Yeah, which feels weird because, like, who lives in unless the family is, like, from Palm Springs, I think Palm Springs is a very destination forward wedding. I felt
and he
like that.
was a rando, but I did write down Roy was Abe's dad's cousin,
Okay,
which is
got it.
exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, you go to a wedding and they're like just these random, like this random collection of people. But yeah, so that just, confused me a little bit. And I think they were in Irvine, because I think he says a line like, "You need to find your Irvine." The other thing that this I'm totally not nitpicking, like, this didn't really bother me, I was just curious what your interpretation was. Sarah made a big point of saying that that woman was not her mom, and then, of course, at the end, in telling that story about how her sister comforted her,
Mhm.
obviously seeing that Sarah losing her birth mom was, something that had impacted her. But is Tala her supposed to be like her half sister? And is her stepmom Tala's
Mm,
mom?
I'm not sure. I don't think so because if she was, like, comforting her during those early nights, I think it was, like, they were experiencing the same things.
Okay. Okay, so she was
Yeah. I
just a
totally
stepmom.
glossed over that part,
I
but
I almost feel like whatever the actress who played the stepmom is beautiful,
yeah.
great performance, but I almost feel like they didn't even really need like that
Mhm.
character at all,
Yeah.
except for them singing the duet, which I do love that song, The Lover's
Yes.
Concerto.
Oh, that was a sweet scene. All right. Well, we've done a lot of lead up to our favorite scenes because there's so many fun moments. Can I start with a couple of mine?
Please.
Okay. So the first one that I had written down was the entire scene where they're in the desert and they see the dinosaurs for the first time because it's like it's also like so over the top with the effects of like the starry night and all these things, but I also was laughing during it because I was like, I could never be in this situation ever in a romantic setting because the one time that Dom and I went stargazing in Joshua Tree, we like sat on the roof of our car and it was like, oh my God, this is such like a romantic moment. This is so sweet. But I like was hearing coyotes. So I was like, we're leaving. I'm not. So I wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds in that tent. But besides the point, I think it's so sweet. I think it's so fun with it being like this orange 10, and we're just kind of like getting this little glimpse into this private moment with the two of them. No one else is around. I mean, you think about a time loop, and like if you're having the same day over and over again, I feel like I wouldn't think about being alone in the desert with someone. But I especially just when they sleep together for the first time, just love what they end up revealing as like this good setup that before they have sex, like Andy Samberg kind of like stops for a minute and he's kind of like looking at her for this moment, and you can tell he's like, wow, I'm like really falling in love with this woman and I'm kind of feeling guilty because I've been lying to her. And it's like within that split second, you know everything that you need to know. So I originally had that as my favorite scene, but I love Roy and Niles's like meet cute and the night that they party together. I was on the floor. I was like, this is incredible. The fact that they end up in the bathtub and like the drugs that they have all over their nose are all these like different colors, and the fact that they end up in the desert and J.K. Simmons has like a tie wrapped around his head, which people always end up having at the end of weddings when they get too crazy. I wanted like 2 or 3 more party nights with the two of them, because the way that Andy Samberg just sets it up of like, oh yeah, I've partied with Roy. And then the dancing scene in the bar and like the millionth day sign are just so sweet and so fun, and I love them the most because I know that you love them. They're very show-stopping. But the last thing that I'll say is when Niles is like going through the list of all the people that he's slept with, and he like makes a joke that he slept with Peter Gallagher. And it's just like the two of them sitting in the bed, and Peter Gallagher's like, what do we do? And it's just comedy gold. And there's another, I like wanted more scenes of Peter Gallagher and Andy Samberg. They're very good scene partners.
Yes.
Peter Gallagher is like he's not serious, but he's like very, kind of one note.
Earnest, the word you used before. Like
earnest,
he's so earnest. Yeah.
He's very earnest. And then for favorite lines, some of them which are kind of dark, but because Andy Samberg sang them, they just work so well that he says like, I think your best bet is to suffer existence. And he's just being like so matter of fact. We're all alone. But then I love this back and forth of Andy and Misty that she's like, oh my God, are you cheating on me? And he goes, no, you're cheating on me, you goof. And then the speech at the end before they go into the cave is wonderful, and that he's including ampersands, and like throughout the speech she's correcting him. Just comedy golds, and also a good nod back to the time loop and a very run-on sentence.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't think of that layer.
Yeah. And I also love that it was like it's a wedding, so like he's giving all, she's like, I'm sick of your speeches, but this is kind of like his last.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was sweet.
All right, well, I will start where you are in the time loop because I had to copy and paste. This is why I went into the script.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to reread these lines, and I agree with you. I think just including all of those, the punctuation and letting him give this really long speech that Sarah ends with saying that was a grammatical nightmare. But I think the last 2 lines of it are what I highlighted and speaks so much to these actors and these characters. They go through the whole thing, and they, are obviously like showcasing that these two are in love with each other. And Sarah asks, but what if we get sick of each other? And Niall says, we're already sick of each other. It's the best. I love that.
He says
I love that
it's
ending.
The best
yes.
because it's very Andy Samberg.
Yes. All right. Going back in time, the other quote is the scene that's just a little bit before this. And they were kind of having that argument about whether or not to leave the time loop or to try to get out of it. This is after Sarah has, presented that she has a solution for them getting out. And I thought that this section where Niles is going through this list of like, why would I want to go back out there? It's a world full of with death and taxes, poverty, debilitating emotional distress, climate change, threat of nuclear war, cancer, and Alzheimer's. And getting stuck here is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And this is the part that was really making me reflect on how I felt during the pandemic. And there is something about if he stayed in this world that he knew that was like safe and predictable, that felt like a better option to him. And I was thinking about that during the pandemic when we had lockdown and we were just home every day and kind of living lives like this. I mean, obviously, we were not safe because we're living in the real world where all of these things plus COVID were happening and there was so much unpredictability. But I think inside of our homes, to contrast that, we had so much predictability, which there's a big part of me that like really craves that. You know, there's something really nice about just waking up and knowing like I don't have to go anywhere today. I'm just going to be home and comfortable. I mean, I was grateful that I was in a good situation. I know that that wasn't the same for everyone in COVID, but like it was just me and Jimmy hanging out every day in our house, walking around our neighborhood. Like that's wasn't like the worst thing. But then having this perspective of Sarah saying like essentially, do you really want to miss out on living this whole big life? All right. So favorite scenes, I also of course loved the dinosaur scene, the hand holding dinosaur scene. But the other two just kind of like silly scenes that or silly moments that I really liked was when Sarah asks Niles to kind of recount all the people that he hooked up with, and he says that he attempted to try to hook up with Tala, who's the bride. Just the choreography of that scene of him trying to cut in during the first dance. I love that he said, I took a big swing. That was great. And then the other scene that I liked kind of in the fun and game section was when Niles pretends to defuse a bomb that's inside of the wedding cake. And Sarah is pretending to be like a French pirate. I don't even know what she was trying to be, but I was crying laughing in that scene in the same way that I also was, Laura, during the scene between Niles and Roy, you know, hanging out before Roy went into the cave. I thought that that was so funny.
Would you have stayed or taken the risk of dying?
I think eventually I would have taken the risk, but I think it would have taken me a long time. I would have made that same argument. Like this is, especially if I was with someone who I loved. Yeah, like let's just keep doing this. This is great.
Yeah.
We were in nice weather.
It's true.
How about you? Would you have instantly, if you had the option, blew yourself up in the cave?
I think if it was like a sure thing, I just think I would have gone nuts. And again, I like the desert, but
that's true. I don't like the desert though.
It's not really for me. The other time that I was in Joshua, I mean, I love Joshua Tree and I've been multiple times, but our friend Matt took us on a hike and I saw a giant
friend
snake.
Of the show.
I didn't join the rest of the hike because of that.
So you were all on a hike together and you saw a snake and you opted out for the rest of it?
I opted out and then I like almost got lost in the desert.
Wait, you went back by yourself?
No, I was with Dom. Oh. And I think Mikey was with us because he also bailed. And because everything looks the same and I think we were like lost for a while. I don't do snakes.
That's fair.
I don't do rock climbing. I
or
can
coyotes at night.
Coyotes, yeah. Okay, food moments. Cold beers. I want those cans. I feel like they remind me of like all of my favorite like Tsingtao and like Sapporo and just like a good. But I never want to drink beer like on a very hot day or in the desert. So that would be my go-to. I also had like tuna cups down because I had like little things that were passing around. The burrito truck. We want to have a burrito with some hot sauce on it. A lot of bourbon. There's a lot of bourbon shots.
Yep.
Fruity drinks, glasses of wine, and the Twix bar.
Yes.
Which is a whole scene. But what else am I missing?
champagne theory, our theory that there's champagne that appears in every movie ever made is intact. Of course, it's a wedding, so this was kind of
Yeah,
like
of course.
of course it was going to be there. Blender margaritas in the morning, which was fun. I'm not a big, I feel like I could do without margarita. Like if margaritas went away, I would be fine. But this movie did make me want to get a burrito from a truck.
Yeah.
And I do like pairing margaritas with Mexican food or Southwest food. One other eagle eye spotting, not that it made me want to eat this, but the scene where Sarah drove all the way back to Austin to where she lived, I guess, there was a there was a Chinese food container in the background, which I felt like was very like, painting the picture of, this girl who doesn't have it together and she's eating Chinese food.
Yeah. Who was?
And Lori, so you mentioned that they were serving kind of like little tuna appetizers, which looked great at the wedding.
Good.
That Roy was eating. And then Roy was also marinating tuna at his house later on.
Lots of tuna
in Irvine. So I don't know if that was like a Roy thing or if he had some kind of connection. I don't know. But I also liked the line this is in like the very beginning before Sarah's in the loop and she goes to the bartender and gets a big port wine. And I like that the bartender says that the wine isn't good, which is kind of like weird because this wedding looked pretty like fancy to me. I wrote down on my list of things of food items from the movie is wine that isn't good.
Yeah, I definitely would have relied on Niles's character to tell me what the bar selection is like.
Yeah.
He knows what's up. I also love that he has like he pre-orders 2 drinks.
Yeah, what was that? It was like something that was blue,
like the signature drink at the wedding, or he's just thinking of like the most absurd drinks possible.
Didn't it kind of look like I don't want to like
it
throw
like a drink that would be named like Lavender Haze, like after a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah, it had that coloring, but I was thinking more about we're a little snobby when it comes to garnishes, or we're garnish appreciators. This garnish almost looks like someone who dad is amazing at many things in life, but like if dad were making this cocktail and we're like, Dad, can you add some garnishes? Like that's what it would look. It was just like it was just like a little like a chopped piece, like a random chopped piece of orange, and then like the sprig of rosemary or whatever that wasn't like placed right. It was very like a sloppy presentation.
Tough at weddings. I actually do struggle with this because you kind of need to just have your go-to at the bar at a wedding because they're not going to be these like perfectly crafted cocktails. I still haven't figured that out because I never want a gin and tonic. Lately I've been doing wine or martinis, but like drinking martinis throughout a wedding it will get to you.
Oh, I went to a wedding that had kind of like a signature martini selection. Like it wasn't just one.
Yeah.
That was not, I mean, I had a great time, but it was not good the next day.
Any other?
No, I'm ready for dinner party. What are we going to do?
Dinner party this week in the spirit of it being a wedding and we're talking about tuna cups. I think that our guests should have to pick their own cocktail appetizer selection. Like what they would eat or what they would want to share with ever. So everyone has like their own tray.
Like a past hors d'oeuvre request. Yes. Okay, so each of these are just making a request for one
specific wedding hors d'oeuvre and a drink of choice. What do you think that they would order?
Okay.
At the open bar.
Okay, I like this.
We're keeping it a cocktail menu instead of a full seated dinner.
Okay. How many are we going to do? Just one person each? A few people each?
You do 3 and 3. Okay, I'll give you Misty, Darla. That's her name from the
Okay.
bar,
Yeah. Yep.
right? I'm keeping the animals going. And one of the dinosaurs.
Okay. All right. I will give you, since you loved him, Peter Gallagher's character, Howard,
Okay.
Sarah and Tala's dad. Oh, by the way, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, if this can be trusted. Pia Wilder is listed as Sarah's stepmother and Tala's mother.
Oh, okay.
Not that this really changes anything, but it was
But
just,
still. But I think it's a little weird that she would have been. No, I guess not. I guess it's not weird that she was comforting her.
yeah,
But
maybe. I don't know.
they got married pretty quickly after that. Their age gap doesn't seem that big.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, Howard. And then how about Trevor, who was the wedding officiant and I think also the one who was hooking up with Misty?
Misty. Okay.
He was the one who wore the cowboy hat
Yeah.
and the
He is cocaine. He's a mess. Yeah.
yeah, the red hearts on
Yes.
his
He
blazer.
had a
Fantastic
great
costume.
outfit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would have picked that over any other outfit in the movie.
And then the third person I want to give you is I'm trying to see if I can find her name. It was Roy's daughter. He says it at some point. So Roy's daughter's name is Madison. Madison, who is riding the little hobby horse in the
Madison, Trevor.
Irvine domestic scene. So
Okay,
Madison, Trevor, and Howard are your three.
And you have Misty, the dinosaur, and Darla.
Okay, Misty seems like she's especially because she's in Palm Springs and she's really getting into the mood. I liked that her wedding vibe was very like she thought she was at Burning Man. Like I love that she had the little like eye gems being a bridesmaid. I'm gonna say that she is a Paloma girl. So I think that would be her signature drink because she likes something pink to match her dress and it has tequila and she thinks she's being healthy by incorporating grapefruit and yeah, and she's very like proud that she thinks that it's going to be very very on theme for something that takes place in Palm Springs. And what would her past hors d'oeuvre choice be? I want to say something in a puffed pastry, but I feel like that's like everything that's a past hors d'oeuvre is a puffed pastry.
I could also see her doing chips and guac like in like a cup because she's like, oh, it pairs well with this Paloma.
Okay, yeah. We'll do little like I'm seeing like a little silver cup that's just it's filled with guac and it has like maybe like a trio of like just three chips, like one blue one red one yellow one. And then I think also, I don't know, I just thought of this, something that I could see her growing up with and liking. Yeah, and even though this is not on theme, she's like, this is my day, so I'm gonna request this. Popcorn shrimp, which is kind of just like the little fried shrimp.
Yep.
I think that would be something that she would enjoy with
Sweet
some
sauce.
with some cocktail sauce. Yeah.
I don't mean to interject on this.
Please. I love when you interject.
I just thought, because I remember having this thought while watching it yesterday, that Nana kind of gives this like sinister remark to Sarah at the end of the movie where she says like, oh, I hear that you're, since you'll be leaving soon. And it made me feel like she is also in the time loop. But
I think that she might be. I think this is another question.
She has decided to stay there.
Yeah, because it's like she's with her family. It's like a happy day.
And she says, okay, this is like so obvious now. People are like, you're so stupid. But she says, I've been to a lot of weddings. And that is the best speech I've ever heard. Okay.
All right.
What's the dinosaur bringing?
The dinosaur, it looks like an herbivore or herbivore. I don't know how it's pronounced. But I don't.
Michelle, do not sign Michelle up for any dinosaur studies.
I know
Only,
nothing about dinosaurs
yeah,
other than our big discussion about how adults love to buy kids dinosaur pajamas and talk
yes,
about how their kids are so into
yeah,
dinosaurs. And I feel like the kind of dinosaur that people like to say that their kids are into are the ones that are in this movie.
yes, agree.
So I'm gonna go with something very, I think it's past hors d'oeuvre would be just a little cup of like that combination of like peas, carrots, and string beans that are cut into just like little pieces. And nobody wants them, but the dinosaur just kind of keeps like
Yeah,
craning its neck into the situation and just eating it right out of the
hmm
extra cups.
it like can't fit its mouth in the cup.
Yeah, it keeps getting stuck on its snout.
I also was thinking like a lettuce cup for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
think
with
if we
no
want to get a
meat.
little bit more
Yeah. I
sophisticated.
just keep thinking leaves.
Yeah.
Just anything that's like a leafy green.
Like, or maybe like a tofu lettuce wrap.
Yeah. Yeah. The vegetarian option.
Yes.
Way to mark them down as vegetarian
Yes.
and their allergy choices.
And then for a drink, how about a screwdriver? Like freshly squeezed orange juice
Okay.
and vodka. I'm gonna backtrack on the screwdriver. I feel like I can more see it. People will just stick like a striped red and white straw directly into an orange.
Yes.
I think that that's how it would enjoy it, and it would be like,
It's like
this
on
is
the
gonna look
Tropicana
great.
box.
Yeah, like some what you would see on the Tropicana box, like, and the dinosaur thinking that this is gonna look great at all
Oh,
lines up at a
I'm
wedding.
just
The
picturing him in
aesthetics
like a
of it.
little like a red bow tie. And little
I wore my
suit.
best.
Oh, I love the dinosaurs. They're sweet.
All right. And who was my last person?
Darla.
Oh, Darla. Okay.
Darla.
Well, Darla is 110% picking a whiskey-based drink. I don't know. I think that she's gonna ask for two. I think she's gonna do one. Moonshine is not the same thing as like bourbon, but I'm
Mhm.
picturing some kind of moonshine or bourbon like lemonade that you would
Okay.
drink in a mason jar. Something like that
It
as
feels
the
very
signature
refreshing
cocktail.
for a desert night.
Yeah, that's how she's playing it, but then I think she also drinks like 10 of them, which is not refreshing. And as her past hors d'oeuvre, I think she's just gonna go with some beef sliders,
Okay.
maybe with cheese on them.
Yeah.
I think just cheese and the beef patty and like heavily buttered buns,
Ugh.
but not. I mean, we would hate. I mean, I don't eat red
Mhm.
meat anyway, but we would. I know that you and I both love. Like, if we're gonna have a burger, it's got to have like every topping available on it for it to be good. None of this.
Yeah.
Because the burger is also going to be like very like gray on the inside. It's not
Mhm.
going to be juicy. It's not going to be prepared well. But
Great.
that's what she wants. So we got to give Darla
Love
what she
it.
wants.
Wow, great selections. Do you have a favorite wedding hors d'oeuvre?
No, I'm not a good wedding eater or drinker really. I think I get really overwhelmed at cocktail hours. I think I want to go to a cocktail hour like by myself because I feel like between knowing that you're like they're always like, you're popping between conversations and there are so many people and you're fighting everyone at the lines and I'm always hungry. But then you also have to figure out how to like balance your plates and you got the little napkins and it's just
I
it's
agree.
it's very logistically
I
challenging
was
for
gonna say
me.
the same thing. I feel like I never eat enough, and they're always delicious, but I'd rather like get my cocktail, say hi to all my friends, be with them for like an hour, and really spend time together. Maybe there's like one hors d'oeuvre being passed around.
Mhm.
And then we get like a separate hour of eating
We're just
appetizers.
focused on
You
eating right
just
now.
focus on the food and you have a seat And they come around and they give it's almost like the first course, but they're gonna
Yeah.
give you or even, like, they give the bride and groom, like, the sample platters at some weddings.
Yes.
I want
I
a
want a
sample
sample platter.
I want a
Yes.
sample platter. Yeah, that's one thing that I feel bad. I feel like our wedding was all past hors d'oeuvres, so people were probably like probably
No, but you at least I
it was
remember
a
doing a lot
crazy
of, like,
weekend, so
sitting at a table for yours, though.
yeah, that's true.
There was seating available.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start with my man Howard. I feel like I just need to say this hors d'oeuvre option because speaking of actually ones from actual weddings, my friend Allie got married at the end of last year, and our friend Emily's sister had got married at the same venue, and there was a lot of talk about how good these lamb skewers were. So there was all this hype before the wedding that it was like, guys, make sure at the cocktail hour you get the lamb skewers. By the way, Allie, if you're listening to this, you had one of the best cocktail hours I've ever been to at a wedding. Fabulous selection. The food was so good. And the lamb skewer was not overhyped. It was delicious. And I feel like Howard would absolutely want a lamb skewer. And I feel like he's very earnest and he's a classy guy. And I feel like during cocktail hour, he is just having like an old fashioned to
Mhm.
start off. Like he can hold his liquor. He might get a little crazy by the end of the night, but he's going to start out off with that and then probably switch to champagne and wine for the rest of the evening. I think that Roy's daughter, Madison, of course, gonna get a Shirley Temple. Kids love telling you that they got a Shirley Temple at the wedding. You'll be doing nothing. There's a child in your pocket being like, I got a Shirley Temple. And they're so excited. And it's the most adorable thing. And I think for her hors d'oeuvre, I think that she loves like mini hot dogs, which I'm a big fan of. But that's also I feel like a difficult logistical thing. Like they either need to put on the ketchup and mustard for you. I don't want to have to dip.
Could
So
you imagine you have your Shirley Temple in one hand and you've got your plate with your hot dog? How how are you supposed to dip that
you know what I think is
while
the
standing
most
up?
stressful thing about hors d'oeuvres is the napkins. Because you have, like, first of all, the person is carrying around this tray. No one's looking at them in the face. They just look down at the tray. They're like, okay, I'm not even going to acknowledge you. I always make sure to look at the person who's giving me a hors d'oeuvre. I'm like, thank you so much for your service because it's a lot. But like the napkin is always in like they need a third hand pretty much.
Yes.
They should
They need a
have
napkin
someone
attendant.
they should have a napkin attendant. They should
Yeah.
have someone coming around with them to hand the napkin, or they should keep napkins stacked up at all the high tops. So when someone comes around, you pick up the napkin yourself. You're not relying on the server. And then you get it and you put it on the napkin. They should not have to carry the napkin. I'm putting my foot down. Madison would say something. She would say,
Whose
we're not
idea
having
was this? Yeah.
anymore. She would be like, this is because kids have no filter. She'd be like, this is weird. I can't get this napkin out, but I want this hot dog. Trevor, I'm gonna keep him in the same camp as Joseph Gordon-Levitt's friend from last week. I'm blanking on his name. Whatever hors d'oeuvre he is bringing or picking, he is putting Molly on it, and he's gonna like eat it in one bite because he's trying to party. He already has the outfit on. I think that he's gonna be our puff pastry man.
Okay, let's do it.
Like I think maybe like a little spinach cup, and he's like, "This is perfect," and just like pops it in there. And maybe he's gonna put some in other ones to make sure everyone has a good time. And I think he is a tequila on the rocks man with a lime wedge. And he like chugs them. He doesn't have any sort of seltzer, juice, margarita.
No chaser.
And he's doing like the top shelf, the most expensive one. Let's get into our this or that.
Okay.
We were good last time where we didn't have too much overlap, so we'll see how it goes. If you're ready.
Am I in the hot seat first?
You are.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Pick a death.
Okay.
Shot in the arrow by Roy or hit by a truck?
I think hit by a truck. It
I think
feels more like it would be over with faster.
yes, agree. Would you rather, let's just, so that we can have some separation here, just pretend this is a hypothetical situation and we're not related. So you're in movie land.
Okay.
Would you rather sleep with your sister's husband the night before your sister's wedding or get stuck in a time loop?
I mean, if I'm just in the movie land, probably the sleep with the groom.
Yeah. You gotta have some sort of flaw.
The
Make it,
time loop is
yeah,
that's a big commitment.
it is a commitment. I think I'm so much of a people pleaser that I'd probably pick the time loop. Where would you rather escape to as your hangout spot if you were in this time loop? Would you go back to your own home? Let's assume that it's within driving distance. Or would you rather hang out at the dive bar?
I could see myself trying to get back. Like I would spend the time driving the 3 hours or whatever. I'm sure it was more than that, just to be home for like a minute, I
I could
think,
see
then
you
hang out at the dive
finding
bar.
like a charter company, like a
Oh
helicopter
yeah,
or
that's a
something
great
to get you
idea.
back because you're like, whatever, I can spend all the money. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, max out the credit card
Yeah.
and yeah,
Would you rather play darts with Darla or float poolside at a stranger's home?
float poolside.
Pick a beverage option, a shot of bourbon or a cold beer.
Shot of bourbon.
Have it.
Sounds great. All right, you ready to get in the hot seat?
I am.
Would you rather wear this to a wedding as a guest? Tala's flower crown, Misty's eye gems, or Trevor's cowboy hat and heart blazer combo?
I think if I was in the time loop, I'm just gonna say every scenario is in the time loop. Definitely Trevor's outfit. I love it. I actually think I would rock it. I look so good in blue. I think it's adorable. And I hate flower crowns. My head is not meant for them. And I like the idea of an eye gem, but I mean the cowboy outfit is a cowboy outfit. It's a first for Nace. You can't beat it.
So this is similar to something that we discussed earlier, and I would like to answer this question as well. But if you got stuck in a one-day infinite time loop, would you rather it be the day of your wedding or my wedding?
My wedding.
I would also pick your wedding. And I feel like I have a really good reason for it. I mean, your wedding was only a few years ago. I feel like I would rather go back to the person I was a couple years ago than the person that I was 17 years ago. At your wedding, I still got to hang out with Jimmy. We actually had a great day. I mean, at your wedding, and then also the morning of your wedding, I think we went to Snowy Owl and we went to the bookstore. It was like such a gorgeous day. We were with so many lovely people. Your wedding was like the best. And I also feel like because I now like know myself better than I did when I got married such a long time ago. Like the choices that I would make for my wedding if I got married today would look a lot more like how your wedding was. Plus, no pressure of like having to, I feel like on my wedding day I didn't get to like fully enjoy it because I was like,
I feel like
it's
I
a
did.
lot.
I feel like I didn't. I think also I was lucky because it was pretty small, so I just like naturally floated around. Although I feel like at the end of it, I remember feeling like, oh my god, I feel bad I didn't talk to that person or this person. But
It's inevitable.
you only get it once unless you get stuck in a time loop. So
it's true. Anyway, I'll meet you in the time loop of your wedding day.
I will be at the oyster bar the whole time.
Yes. Perfect. Sorry, I feel like I hijacked your question. I'm like, I have a whole manifesto about why I want to get stuck on your wedding day.
All the reasons why I enjoyed your wedding more.
All right, this one is just for you. Pick a pool float, the pizza wedge, or the donut.
The pizza wedge. I really don't like. I think I've gotten bad at swimming as the year. Like I don't know what's happened. I guess because I don't go in pools as much, but I always feel like similar to the awkwardness of like trying to get a napkin from a person who's passing around. I'm always so weird in donuts, and I feel like the pizza, it's the shape of, somewhat of the body, and I can just lay down and I don't have to worry
I
about
feel like
like,
I would slide off that thing
yeah.
so fast though.
And it is like easier to burn a little bit if
Yeah.
you're playing out. So, but I would still pick the pizza.
How are you more likely to spend your infinite days? Partying or studying quantum physics?
If it was another subject, studying, but because it's quantum physics, partying. And
That's
if it's
fair.
a time loop, I'm partying. I'm not studying.
Okay. And last one, which time loop date sounds more fun to you? Burritos and beers or camping and dinosaur watching?
Going back to what I had mentioned earlier because of the coyotes, the burritos and beer. If coyotes were not a possibility or in the realm, and it really was that like magical scene, that I would pick the latter. But I'm also not a big fan of sleeping in tents. So I feel like burritos and beer, I can go back to my hotel room after.
Perfect.
Okay, well, next week we're going to be continuing our season in the spirit of time. This is the only episode that we actually have the word time in it, but we are going to be covering the movie About Time, and we're going to be having a new guest to the pod. So we're very excited about this. So if you want to continue celebrating the Valentine's Day spirit, make sure you tune in.
And we'll see you then.